now. I hope you don't mind that my face is the only one on the live stream at the moment. So we are live for the AIDA board meeting on March 18th, 2020. Just to get a sense of who we have on the phone. I don't have everybody's names here in front of me. Jim, are you with us? Jim Dacey? Okay. Who's the vice chair of this committee?
Bill Andre, I think.
Is Bill Andre with us?
Yeah, I'm here.
Okay. I think it would be good to start with a roll call just to make sure we have everybody. So Sam to do that.
Okay. So we've got Bill Andre on the line. Jim Dacey did not answer. Mr. Beer,
Yes, here.
Mr. Cuddy,
I'm here.
Mr. Gasper,
Here.
Mr. Gravius,
Here.
Mr. Lavarnway. Okay. Mr. Giantino,
Here.
Miss Weber McLeod.
Here.
Perfect.
Okay, and also on the phone, I see that we have Elaine Buffington from Buffington and Hoatland. I see Rob Poyer is with us from Hancock Estabrook. Is there anyone else that we're missing? Okay. So Bill, would you be okay with starting with the audit review with Elaine?
Grace, I'm sorry, I don't have my material in front of me.
Oh, okay. If it's okay with you, we're going to start with the audit review with Elaine. Is that okay?
Yep.
Okay. So Elaine is here to discuss our 2019 financial audit.
Okay. Good afternoon, everybody. We came in and we did the audit of Auburn Industrial Development Authority. I have the audit committee just prior to this meeting, and so we've gone through the audit in detail. What I'd like to do with the board right now is go through a little bit condensed version of what we discussed, and if there's any questions that the board has, please feel free to interrupt me and ask that question. First of all, the audit went very well. We had no problems. Information was presented to us in very good form. We had no problems going through the information, and we certainly thank the staff, Tracy and her staff, for getting all the information that we needed to complete the audit. With the audit, we had no findings. There were no material weaknesses noted and no significant deficiencies in our testing. We did have one journal entry, and that was to adjust the bond, both the bond payable and bond receivable for the Bluefield Manor bond. The information that was provided to Tracy was not the correct statement, and we noticed that when we were doing the audit, and then it was just adjusted. It didn't have any true financial statement effect. It was just an adjustment to the asset and to the liability. The financial statement on page 1 is the independent auditor's report. It is an unqualified audit report. The financial statements are fairly stated according to generally accepted accounting principles. On pages 3, 4, and 5 is the management discussion and analysis. This is unaudited and is prepared by the staff of AIDA. Starting on page 6 is the statement of financial position, and this is where the audit begins. The first item I wanted you just to note is we are doing a single year presentation with a very large accounting change this year for revenue recognition. So rather than restate 2018 and add a lot of additional work to the audit and to the financial statement, we have opted to do a single year presentation. So I'm going to give you some of the information from the 2018 audit so that you can see what some of the comparisons are. As far as your cash and cash equivalents, they're down significantly from the year before. In 2018, you had collected a large amount of the pilot payments and not yet made the payment to the taxing authority. It all happened right at the very end of the year. So your cash was at $714,000, which is abnormally high for your organization. The amount that you're seeing on the financial statements now of $99,479 is typical for your organization, and what you maintain a balance of. Pilot payments and receivables were at $725,000. You had some large amounts that were had not come in at year end, but they came in very shortly in the 2020. If you look over on the statement of liabilities, you'll see a pilot payment payable that matches the same amount. As far as capital assets, you really didn't have any increases in your capital assets this year. And the property lease, which is with Bluefield Manor, was reduced from the previous year by the amounts made that they make on their pilot loan pay or their property lease payable. On the liabilities and net position, the amounts have increased slightly from the previous year, $800,873, and this really has to do with the pilot amounts that you still had to make as payments to the taxing authorities. Total liabilities for the organization were $2.3 million, that left a net position for your organization of $367. On the next statement of revenue and expenses, this year you had a very large administrative fee from one of the projects. The total administrative fee income for the year is $53,000, as opposed to the previous year was about $12,000. Your operating expenses, $34,000, left you with a net operating net income of $18,514. Non-operating income and expenses netted you another $131. So the change in position for the year or your profit was $18,645. When we look at the operating expenses and compare them to the last year, there really were no significant differences. Some slight increases or decreases. Professional fees were down slightly. The contract services were up about $4,000. The amounts were pretty much in line with your budget. Questions on the statement of revenue and expenses? I'd like to spend a little bit of time, if we can switch to page 12, to page 11 to talk about the footnotes briefly. Note 2 talks about your basis of accounting. You're a unique organization since you're a component unit of the city. You follow both government accounting standards and also generally accepted accounting standards for the United States. So you're following the accrual method of accounting. There was a big change in the accrual method of accounting this year. And if you go to page 12, you'll see that there's the very first footnote is the revenue recognition. The way organizations are recognizing revenue changed dramatically for organizations. For yours, starting January 1st, 2019. So you'll see in the first paragraph that you adopted these new requirements of that date. The more important sentence of this paragraph is the very last one, where the agency does not believe that the application of these provisions had a material effect on your amounts presented or disclosed. So even though you've accounting standard, the way you're recognizing revenue really hasn't changed from the previous year. The second paragraph details out how you recognize your revenue. So the first part is you have administrative service fees, and depending on type of incentive, determines what the amount in the contract is. Revenue from these fees are recognized when the agency meets the performance obligation of of the contract. So when you have a contract for a pilot or for a mortgage, when you approve that contract for that recipient, that's when you recognize that revenue. And it's the same as it was before. Application fees, when a recipient submits an application, it is non-refundable, and revenue is recognized on the submission of that application, regardless of whether you approve and go forward with the project. And any other income that you receive is recognized as revenue when the conditions of the grant are made. Any questions on that? As far as the rest of the footnotes, there were no really significant changes. I do believe the board was provided a copy of these prior to the meeting. If you have any questions in regards to the footnotes, please feel free to ask them. On page 17 is the internal control over financial reporting report. And as I said at the very beginning of the meeting, there were no significant deficiencies and no material weaknesses noted in any of our testing. Again, we want to thank Tracy and Samantha, the whole staff at the offices there. They were very helpful during the process of the audit. They gave us information as we needed, and they cooperated 100% with whatever we needed. Thank you, Tracy.
Thank you.
Questions? Anything from the audit committee that you might want to add?
I think this is Roger Beer. I would just add that we had a more extensive presentation during the audit committee, and what Elaine just talked about was consistent with what we talked about, and we came to a consensus at the end of the audit committee meeting that the audit should be accepted by the full board, and that's our recommendation.
So with that, unless there's any further discussion, I'd like to ask for, Bill would like to ask for a motion to accept the audit.
Can I have a motion? Have a motion to accept the audit report as read or as exhibited, or
I'll Roger Beer.
Roger's a motion.
seconded by me, Terry.
Terry. Okay.
Okay, so it's been moved and seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Aye. Opposed? Abstain? Carried. Thank you. Tracy and everyone, I apologize. I came straight from Rochester after being up there since 7 o'clock in the morning, and I did not have time to go to my office and grab my laptop. So I'm not prepared. But I'll work with Tracy. Tell me what to do.
I got your back.
I've seen it. I just haven't. I don't have it in front of me. That's all.
Yeah, and we weren't sure if Jim was going to be here or not, but something must have come up. So, but we'll get through it. And so the audit is all set. And thank you very much, Elaine, for everything, and for another lovely year of auditing.
Well, thank you. Thank you.
Okay, well, I guess you're free to go, Elaine, or you could stay.
Excellent. Got a couple tax returns to do.
Yeah, you should probably get on it.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Bill, if it's okay, before we move on, we do have two new members of the board, and this is not the ideal way for the board to be meeting each other, but I just wanted to maybe take a few minutes to go around and maybe people can introduce at least their names and a little bit about their background to help familiarize the new members with the board. So I'll call out some names. I'll start. I'm Tracy. Oh, you can't see me because the video is being used for YouTube. I'm Tracy, Executive Director of CEDA and staff to AIDA. And Sam is here in the room with me. She's also CEDA staff and staff to AIDA. Say hi, Sam.
Hi.
So Gwen, you're at the top of the screen. Would you like to introduce yourself to the group?
Sure. My name is Gwen Weber-Cloud. I'm the president and CEO of a company that's incorporated in my name, Gwen Inc. And my company is a private sector leadership development corporation that's based here in Auburn, but my clients are all over the country. And we work exclusively with mid-executive level leaders on a variety of leadership development services and programs. We specialize in executive coaching, professional facilitation, and then we have a specialty in our business that focuses on diversity, equity, and inclusion.
Thank you. Welcome.
Thank you. I'm excited to be here with you all.
And Jimmy, you're next on my screen. Jimmy Giantino, would you like to go next?
Sure. Hi, everyone. Jimmy Giantino, member of City Council, just started my second term. The mayor asked me to take his spot, and council obliged, and I'm happy to be a part of AIDA. My other full-time job is I'm an assistant operations manager at Medent. I've been here for going on 23 years. I'm sure everybody's familiar with Medent and what we do, and I'm happy to be on AIDA from that point of view as well. Thank you.
Thank you. Jeff, I think you're next on my screen.
Hi, Jeff Gasper. I'm the school board liaison here for AIDA. Been on AIDA for several years now. Also own my own telecommunications consulting company headquartered here in Auburn, and forward to work with everybody. Thanks for Gwen for your introduction.
Great, thank you. And Roger, I think you're next.
Hi, Roger Beer, lifelong resident of Auburn. I'm on the board as a member at large. I'm a retired partner from Grossman St. Amor CPAs in Syracuse, and do contract accounting work as CPA with Cuddy Financial Services, and look forward to a prosperous year on the board once our self quarantine is completed. Thank you.
Thank you. Terry? Terry, are you still with us?
I put myself on mute. Yeah, sorry. I was halfway through my introduction until I realized no one was listening. Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you. Yep.
So I just wanted
I do not know how the sound
introduce
quality on
myself. I'm
YouTube
a
is.
Auburn City
So
Councilor.
I'm just
I'm in my sixth year. And I am also
the kind of
a
stuff I can
teacher
pull from the
at BOCES,
website.
a career and tech teacher. I teach graphic design and new media there.
great.
And welcome to, Gwen and Jimmy to the AIDA board.
Thank you. Brandon?
Hi, I'm Brandon Gravis. I've been with the board for a couple of years. I'm a member of industry, and I'm the controller at AAI here in Auburn. Welcome aboard.
Sam and I just both noticed we've been saying your name wrong.
I'm so sorry.
Yeah,
Great, thanks.
no problem. I'm used to it.
And Bill, do you want to finish out the board members here?
Can you repeat that, Tracy? I'm sorry.
Do you want to introduce yourself? You'll be the last board member.
Oh, well, I certainly do. Hi, my name is Bill Mendray. I've been on and off AIDA several times through the years. First time, I think, way back in the 90s. And I am the member of labor on the board. I am the business agent, financial secretary for Baker's Local 116. We're chartered out of Syracuse, but our office is in Auburn. And I'm also president of the Cuba Labor Council. Welcome aboard.
And last but not least, Rob Poyer is with us as well. Rob, would you like to introduce yourself?
Sure. Rob Poyer with Hancock Estabrook. We're longtime attorneys for the authority. If you can see me, I'm wearing a Star Wars shirt. I don't normally wear those to board meetings, but drastic times call for Star Wars shirts.
Fair enough. So thank you everybody for doing that. I think it's a good way to start the meeting. And with that, I think we can move into minutes. We have the January 15th governance and regular meeting minutes. Bill, if you'd like to call for those.
So, has everyone had an opportunity to review the minutes? Are there any questions? If everyone's good with the minutes, I'll entertain a motion to accept.
So moved, Roger Beer.
Do you have a second, please?
Second, Brian Gravis.
Brandon, got
All
it?
those in favor? All those in favor, aye.
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 Oh, can I have the
Opposed,
meeting
nay.
packet?
Abstain, carried. Thank you.
Sam just took my agenda, so I have no idea what's next.
Bills.
Bills and communications.
Now you know how I feel.
So Sam is going to report on bills and communications.
Yes, we only have one bill in the packet, and that is for the economic forecast luncheon for one seat. That is $40.
Okay.
So we'll just need approval to pay the bill.
Yeah. So I need a motion to,
That
you
sounds
have a second, please? You have a second, please?
Terry Cuddy, second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Aye. Opposed? Abstain? Carried. Thank you.
And next is the report of the treasurer.
As far as the treasury reports in your package, I happen to have it up on my computer. If you don't, I'll go through it quickly. It actually starts on page 8, and we've got both the January and February budget and profit and loss. And I'll just cover the year to date. And basically, what I was going to say in terms of February is that we're not that far during the year. Into the year, we have a couple expenses for dues and for professional services, which relate to the audit. So I'll keep you informed going forward in terms of the overall profit and loss. Right now, it's too early in the year to really make any decisions on it. I would point to you in terms of the balance sheet just for continuity purposes as much as anything else, and as a follow-up to the audit report by Lynn Buffington. At the end of February, we have about $89,000 in cash on hand compared to $68,000 last year. So we're up over $20,000. We have additional $20,000 in cash. And the main reason for that is our profit from last year, as a reminder, was approximately $19,000, which feeds into additional cash that we have on hand at the end of February. And that pretty much is the essence of my report as of the end of February. Any questions?
So if Sam was also looking at our bank accounts, we are coming up on our 6-month mark for our savings, for activity in our savings account. So we do need to do a transfer just to keep it active and to avoid an inactivity fee. We'd like to $5. Is that what we're thinking? Just do a transfer of $5 to keep from the savings to the checking, just to keep the account active. If that's okay.
Great idea. Yes, I would concur with that.
Yeah,
Okay.
that's good.
Is anyone not okay with that? Let's put it that way. Okay, great. Do we usually motion the
So-
report of the treasurer?
Mhm.
Yeah. So can I have a motion for Roger's report? Is he read?
So move, Jimmy.
So it's been moved. Do I have a second?
Terry Cuddy, second.
Okay. All those in favor? Aye.
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 Opposed? Abstain? Carried. Thank you.
So next on the agenda is the CETA staff update. Obviously, there's a lot going on right now with everything that doesn't need to be mentioned by name. So there, you may have seen today, CETA is working on a emergency microloan program. We do have a microloan fund in existence that has about $12,000 in it right now. We are looking to quickly adjust that program to provide small emergency loans to small businesses that might need a little bit of breathing room. We're talking amounts to cover like a month or two of rent, or an investment in a web camera, or an investment in a website to improve online ordering. So we're talking relatively small amounts, and then we're identifying other resources that we can refer people to for other, for larger loans. And in doing that, we're also looking for a way to get more funding into that program so that we can help more businesses and maybe increase the amount of the loan a little bit, to be able to help more businesses. So that is in the work. We're making inquiries in various places, and we're hoping to at least get something out this week or early next week, even with just the $12,000, to start gathering information about what businesses need, what level of support they need, and what they need support for. And that will also help as we go look at what other funding sources might be, because we'll have some data about what the businesses' needs really are. So that's in the works right now. Keep an eye on that. We'll certainly share it as that progresses. Despite everything, we're still working on the DRI grant fund. I'll be submitting that grant agreement shortly to try to get that open, although I'm not sure where applications will be at this point. People might wait to make capital investments until this situation is over. So, but I'm going to submit that to try to keep that moving forward. So when we come out the other end of this, the program is ready to be utilized. So that is still in the mix. And that's the Downtown Revitalization Initiative. $600,000 was set aside for a small project grant fund. Our State of the City and County Luncheon on the chamber side has been postponed for obvious reasons of large gatherings not being allowed right now and not being safe right now. So we have a tentative date set, but we're not announcing anything until we kind of see how this plays out. So we'll be keeping everybody in the loop on that as we get that rescheduled and finalized. Our office here is still open. Most of our staff is working remotely. So if you do need assistance, or someone who needs assistance, please have them call or email rather than just stop into the office. For the moment, the office is open to the public. We just have a small staff on hand each day, only 3 people, with everybody else working from home, and it's on a rotation. So obviously not everyone is in the office every day. So phones are being forwarded to cell phones. So if someone calls and gets, transferred to Danielle, it will go to her voicemail or to her cell phone automatically. So we are set up for this remote work, and we are still providing service and having conversations with businesses. So we are still operating on both the chamber and the CETA side. Is there anything else from us right now, Sam?
I don't know when committee nominations need to happen. I don't know if that's on this or later. It's not on the agenda, but it's something we need to do.
Oh, so another thing is we are going to, for this group, for AIDA, we are going to need to do some committee nominations. Either, do we have another committee meeting next month?
We have I believe it's the finance committee next month.
So finance committee will be meeting next month, and we need one additional person on that committee. Currently, it's Jeff and Jim. So if we have any volunteers to come on that committee, we can at least invite you to the next meeting and maybe do nominations next month. If anyone is interested in the finance committee. Anyone? We'll follow up by email. We'll follow up by email. Think about it, because we're going to need someone for the governance committee as well. And speaking of governance committee, I have been talking to Gwen quite a while ago, or it feels like a long time ago now, about having some conversations with the governance committee and with this board about how to move community programs forward and maybe be flexible in our programming. And I think Gwen is very well positioned to help us with those conversations. So that might be a good hint, that might be a good fit.
I'm actually going to say that I could serve on the finance committee, but this would be a better place for my skill set, I think. So I would be honored to do that, Tracy.
So if there's any other interest in committees, please do let us know. The audit committee is currently Roger, Brandon, and Ron. So, but if anybody has interest in specific committees, please let us know and we'll go ahead and establish those officially next month.
Tracy, this is Gwen. Can I ask you a question about the microloan program?
Sure.
So will people that need this particular type of support just use the regular application process to do that? Or will you have to create a new process to cover this particular type of loan?
We are taking our process and streamlining it for this.
Mm-hmm.
And so to an extent, it's the latter, but we are we're considering what are the pieces of our standard loan application that are the most critical, and then cutting out everything else so that we make it.
What would you anticipate the turnaround time for a company to be?
So depending on how quickly, so basically we're going to request from them some like basic demographic information, business name, address, contact information, type of business, what their service or product is. And then we'll ask them for a statement of how they've been impacted, a statement of how they plan to use the funds, and we will ask for financial statements, P&Ls and balance sheets going back 2 years or as long as they've been around. So if it's a newer business, they can just give us what they have.
Right.
And then that's it. That's all they would have to pull together to start to apply. And then once they submit a complete application, we'll send it out to the committee. What my plan is, this hasn't been finalized, but what my plan is to send it out to the committee and hopefully be able to get them feedback or approval within a week. And that could be that the committee needs more information, or it could be a straight approval, depending on the situation. But I'm hoping to be able to get an answer or feedback within a week and then be able to disperse the funds within 3 or 4 days of that. But as we start talking to other funders, that might influence how that process works.
Other funders in terms of people that would contribute to the pot of money you're going to distribute?
Correct.
Okay.
Tracy,
Yes.
this is Jimmy. I have a question and then a comment about the microloans. Who's on the committee for approval?
So right now, the committee for that program is the CETA Executive Committee. But if there were other funding sources, we could certainly talk about what what the makeup of that committee looks like.
Okay. And in terms of other funding sources, legislator Atley Kerr called me today. She did say that the county was exploring whether or not they could contribute to that and wanted to know if the city would explore it as well. I did call the city manager just to put it on his radar. As you can imagine, he's extremely busy right now.
Yep.
With contingency planning, but it is on his radar. I know that, what we would probably have available off the cuff would be CDBG money or UDAG money, but there's always strings attached to that. And, we don't know if HUD's going to loosen up those strings. But at least it's on his radar.
Yep.
Trish did call me back this afternoon and said that their corporation counsel isn't sure that the county can donate to something like that. So he wanted to know if our city attorneys had a different opinion. So we're going to be reaching out to our corporation counsel to see if they can research it further. Maybe reach out to NICOM. They're usually a pretty good resource for that kind of thing.
Yeah. And then the other thing that the county is looking at is the Cuyahoga County Development Corporation. They were meeting this afternoon too, and they were going to be discussing since they do have loan funds, straight up loan funds, if there was a way for them to help with this as well. So,
Okay.
And then, we'll make some other phone calls of potential private partners. And, we may put the program out, and I'm going to have to put a disclaimer on there saying, the terms and requirements may change over time. So it's going to be it's going to be a working document, but we're hoping to keep it as helpful and accessible as possible. And find ways around some of, when I spoke with the county legislature, some of the concerns were around the fact that the way we're presenting it is as unsecured financing, because A, the loan amounts we're talking about are so small, and B, it's an emergency. Not all businesses have collateral, and we don't necessarily want to exclude the businesses with the least assets from doing this if they show an ability to repay it based on their prior financials. So we'll have to find a way around whether that means personal guarantees or, going out to the business community and seeing if other businesses that aren't as impacted might be willing to guarantee a loan on their behalf and be a backup for them, or I don't know, see if we can find some creative ways to help that collateral situation.
Sure. Actually, I have one more question as well. I know that as part of the DRI, there was a pot of money for small business development. Is there any chance that money would be freed up?
We're still going to have to wait. The loan agreement the grant agreement I'm sending back in shortly. So as soon as we get that grant agreement in place, once it gets reviewed by the state and then sent back, we should be able to get it available relatively quickly. I'm concerned that the applicants may not be able to commit matching funds right now. So we'll have to look at that.
Okay. Thank you.
This is good. Just my other thought about this would be I'm sure that there's a typical monitoring mechanism around the microloan program anyway. It would be really interesting to really monitor this effort and the related data, because it's probable that we could find ourselves in some sort of situation that causes this level of crisis for the small business community in the future. And if we can really pay attention to how this all unfolds. Right now, it feels like we're riding a bicycle and building it at the same time.
Yeah.
But I think sort of really paying attention to what happens during this bit of an experiment would be really helpful to this board in terms of, if we ever had to do it again, we will have some data and, sort of monitoring information that lets us know how it unfolds, because it could be very unique based on some of the kinds of businesses that could need this support and the difference in their ability to, put up collateral or whatever.
Yes, I agree. And I was talking about this with Steve Lynch today and county partners in terms of this might be a really great way to test what an emergency fund looks like and potentially be able to make some form of emergency fund available moving forward for when we have, say, flooding situations in different parts of the counties, or and it's just a question of, how much money we maintain in that fund and what level of funding is needed to respond to each particular event. But that is part of the conversation to try to see how this might be brought forward for future scenarios that are more typical to what we might see.
Great. I think it's an interesting idea to consider.
I agree. And it would be great to have that process in place so that we can respond quickly in the future. Yeah.
This will be the test.
This, it feels like everything about this is the test.
Yeah.
Does anyone else have any questions for me at this point? I am assuming that the new core tour, we're going to want to put a hold on for now.
Yes.
A lot of our leadership Hugo tours have been postponed for the time being, so we'll put a hold on the new core tour, but we'll stay in touch with them and keep them on the radar. Just as a reminder, they are coming up towards the end of their pilot, and they are looking to have a conversation about if there's a way to continue that pilot and based on an additional capital investment. So we'll put the tour on hold for now, but we'll reach back out when it's appropriate to do something like that. Any questions about that? Okay, so Bill, that brings us into the new business section of the meeting. We've already covered the report of the audit committee and the financial review. So the next item is Paris reporting review. That was included with the packet. It's a section of our Paris reporting with information about our projects. It was also talked about briefly with the audit committee, but Sam, if you want to provide your shtick again.
Yes. So we've received project report forms from all the projects except for central building. There was a miscommunication on how they should be reporting their FTEs, which Paris, they wanted it to be done specifically to report on the actual number of FTEs employed by central building instead of the tenants, the number of tenants. So they are filling that out, and we will be receiving that shortly. And then we have not received the project report form and sales tax exemption form for JBJ Real Property. They had originally submitted, but again, it was one of those funny instances where they had to report on the actual number of FTEs versus the number of tenants. So that has to be corrected. And then as a reminder, they did have an ST60 extension last year. So they need to send in their sales tax exemption information. So they're working on that as well. But all of the other projects we've received information for, and you can see that in the Paris report that was provided.
And it is occurring to me right now that a future agenda item, when we have a meeting agenda that is light, is to perhaps go back over each of the projects and what they are, and also talk about what all these forms are, ST60s, ST340s, etc. Just as a reminder for the group about each of the projects, where they are in their project, and what their requirements are. So I'll make a note of that because I think that would probably be helpful for everybody to get a reminder of what all these projects are.
I would agree, Tracy. That'd be good to have.
Okay. Are there any questions about the Paris reporting that was provided? And all of the Paris reporting is due at the end of the month. So now that the audit is approved, we'll go ahead and get all of that in a timely manner and in compliance with state law.
So that was just informational. No action is needed. Correct, Tracy?
No action. Just if you take another look at it and have any questions, feel free to reach out to us by email or phone, and we can answer any questions that you might have. And so that concludes new business. We're at the new board member updates. Bill, do you have any updates? No? Nothing? Okay.
Trace, I'm sorry. I'm having a hard time going in and out. What was that last thing you said? I'm sorry.
So that concluded the new business portion of the meeting. The next portion is board member updates. How would you like me to handle this portion of the meeting?
Well, I don't have anything. Well, I guess I do. The only thing I have is, I'm very concerned. My Auburn Beanbo plant is down 5 hours a day because of the drastic drop off to Burger King business. Their drive-throughs are all that's open, and they're down about 40%, and it's really hurting my brothers and sisters down there. So they're already talking to me about a possible layoff. So that's going to be difficult, and it won't be the only group that's covered by unions or non-unions in the city and in the county that are going to have layoffs. So from my standpoint, and I think everyone's standpoint, that's very concerning.
To do today with them?
So that's all I have. I'm going to be very very busy trying to keep people working.
Yeah. I really wish I had an answer of how to fix this.
You'd be a multi-billionaire.
That would be nice too. Bill, do you want me to just run through everybody and one by one and see if everybody has an update?
Yeah,
okay.
Go ahead.
Roger, do you have anything right now?
Stay home. Be the only thing I would say. In terms of any solutions, stay home. Unfortunately. That's it.
Terry?
Yes, on that note, be safe. I know that many businesses and organizations like the city have cut the workforce down considerably and having people work from home, which I think is what we have to do. We do want to keep aspects of our society working so that people can get what they need, but these measures, albeit drastic, are hopefully will save thousands of lives in the process. So I'm glad that we were able to meet remotely. So and whatever we have to do to do this board's business and whatever our businesses are safely, I think is what this as was mentioned before, what communities do to come together to make sure that we're all safe and things are moving in the right direction. So that's it for me.
Thank you. Jeff, do you have anything?
No, I'm going through and taking some time off the road to work on potentially looking at the possibility of launching a new internet service provider here in town as a kind of offshoot of my company. So looking at different buildings and locations, and it would be completely diverse, meaning it wouldn't utilize Spectrum or Verizon or First Light networks, which are the predominant providers in town. Is some diversity, as we all know, that becomes more important in things like this. So I'm taking some downtime. I'm actually trying to remain positive and come up with a business plan around that. So if anybody in the on the team here's the folks that are looking for alternative internet providers or something like that, definitely let them know to reach out to me as I start to gather interest in the area. Thank you.
Jeff, are you looking at residential, commercial? What type of customers?
Yeah, good. So good point. I forgot to mention. So right now, predominantly commercial, just to help make the ROI work, so to speak, on it. But I am looking at, second phase 2 of that is not only looking at MDUs, so multi-tenant dwelling units, again, for the same fact of making the ROI work. But once that's in place, looking at residential in the outlying areas where there isn't good services today.
Great. Well, if you send us what you're looking for in a space, we can point you in the direction of anything that we have on file here too. So keep us in the loop. Brandon, do you have anything?
I do not.
I figured. You're a man of many words. Gwen and Jimmy, this is pretty standard of Brandon.
Sometimes less is more.
When he does say something, I listen real hard. Jimmy, do you have anything that you want to talk about today?
Just real quick, I'll touch on what Terry and Roger said. I agree. Anybody who can stay home, be safe. MedEnt deployed in the last 3 days about 200 employees to work from home remotely. Our clients are all medical offices, so we have to be able to support them during this time. And it's actually gone off without a hitch. It was pretty impressive. So we've tried to instill in our employees not only stay home for work, but socially too. Please just stay home and let's ride this thing out. And I just want to also touch on the fact that city government is functioning. It's functioning well. I think that's important for people to know. City manager Jeff Dygert has basically, for lack of a better term, established a war cabinet, and he's meeting with them twice a day. He's kind of giving them new duties and responsibilities, reaching out to the high rises, the nursing homes, making sure that everybody is okay. He's communicating with us on a regular basis. Obviously, police, fire, water, sanitation, we have to continue those services and hopefully do it in the safest way possible. But, there is continuity of government right now, and I just talked to him before I called into this, and everything's running really well right now.
Thank you. And Gwen, since we started with you, I figured we'd end with you.
I think the only thing that I would like to say is just thank you very much for providing the opportunity for me to join your board. I've owned a company in Auburn since 1989, and this is my third business, but my original business was with Melina Carnicelli back in the 80s, and I'm very excited to have the opportunity to support the good works of AIDA. And the other thing I would just like to say is thank you to the city and the county for presenting a united front as we press our way through this moment. And I think it's really important for the community to see that the leadership of both of these entities can work really well together. And I would just really encourage you, as it's feasible, to continue putting positive messaging out there. I'm just observing a lot of really anxious and anxiety-ridden folks. A lot of single moms are out here being really anxious across the community. Robbie Barnes has created a Facebook page that's allowing a lot of people to connect and provide support. It is my experience that people take their cues for how to respond to something from watching what leaders do. So I just want to really encourage my colleagues in the city and the county to keep up the good work and to continue just sending us positive messages officially, even if there's nothing new to report, but just to tell us to breathe. So thank you so much. I look forward to getting to know all of you and working with you on this important work. And Tracy, I think you're one of the most important leaders in the community, and that compelled me to say yes to. So I'm excited to share my knowledge and skills with all of you.
Thanks, Gwen. Unless anyone has anything else to add, I'll hand it back to Bill.
Anything else, anyone? Thank you all. I apologize for not having my agenda. Like I said, I was hurrying home, and then as I got home, I realized I didn't have it. So I apologize again for that. Can I have a motion to adjourn, please?
So moved, Roger Beer.
Do you have a second?
That's Jeff, I'll second.
Second, Brandon.
All those in favor?
Aye.
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 Opposed? Okay, have a good night, everyone. Please stay safe.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
Take care.
Thanks.
Bye-bye.
Stay well. Hi, Gwen. And that's it.